Let's talk to Kit Papworth, farmer at LF Papworth Farm, because we've been talking about this a lot since the budget last week. The inheritance tax that was slapped on farms has been an absolute death knell blow to many, many businesses and many families who run farms. Let's find out from Kit what's going on. Kit, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
Thanks very much for joining us. You know, there's been an awful lot of anguish and talk about this farming story. Obviously, Trump has kind of dominated the airways for the last couple of days, so we've sort of moved away from it. But there's been a lot of conversations about a bit of industrial action, maybe some striking, maybe perhaps around the farming business. What's your take on it all?
Personally, I think farmers are unlikely to actually strike, predominantly because cash flows in agriculture are very poor, and the people who would suffer would be the general public, who aren't the people who are responsible for this problem. So I think a lot of lobbying and a lot of speaking to MPs is probably going to be more effective. But I can see that there are some people who are very, very angry, and we could certainly shut down the supply of food to UK agriculture very quickly, to UK consumers if we wanted to. Yeah.
No, of course. I mean, people say that much of this is about a misunderstanding, a fundamental misunderstanding of what farming actually is and how it's done by kind of, you know, metropolitan types who've never been to the countryside, and if they were, they don't have a pair of Wellington boots to walk around in the mud in. I mean, is that partly true because they just don't understand, because they see big numbers and think, oh, people are making a fortune here and they're worth millions, but actually that's not really true?
I think that is part of the problem, Mike, yes. I think, you know, when UK farming doesn't actually make any money, producing food doesn't make any money, and that's become progressively worse since the war, really. And so the return on capital on a family farm is less than 0.5%. About a third of farms actually lose money every year. And so there isn't the money to pay this tax. And it's all very well for Mr. Reeves and Mr. Starmer to say, you know, that they think 3/4 of family farms won't pay that tax. The problem is that the people who are actually genuine farmers will pay the tax, and the people who've bought a farmhouse with some paddocks around it will avoid paying the tax. And that's on the back of a whole raft of other measures which were kind of hidden below the radar on budget day. But this family farm tax is incredibly serious for most family farms, and there just isn't the money to pay the bill.
Right. Is there any chance that you can get exemptions, or that you can sort of move the dial so the government, you know, either widens the definition or narrows it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the answer here. So first of all, I think, you know, a newish government need to probably get a grip of their own figures. We think that they don't really understand the figures out there. And secondly, probably we either need to define what a working farmer is. I'd like to think that I am one. Or we need to raise this level, you know, maybe to say 5 million, and then another threshold maybe to 10 million. So I think that there are ways around this. Successive governments have struggled to define what a working farmer is. But most people, I think if you ask the man in the street, I think he'd probably say he can work out what a farmer is because he's out there producing food every day.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, let's not forget this is a government who can't actually define what a woman is. So I mean, the chance of being able to define a farmer is probably quite a long shot.
Yeah, I think we agree. Look, I think there's a whole raft of other measures in here as well that are a problem. You know, the tax on fertiliser is probably going to add another £10,000 of costs into my business next year, or in 2027. Even just things like capping the subsidy that comes to farmers next year is going to have a big impact certainly on my business. And even silly things like, you know, a tax on double cab pickups. You know, most farmers are driving around in a double cab pickup because that's essential to their business. You know, and they're suddenly increasing the cost on that. So there's a whole raft of measures in here that the Labour government have brought in, all of which are bad news from farmers' perspective, when we're just not making any money to pay these bills.
Exactly right. Kit, good to talk to you. Thanks very much. We'll keep in touch and let you know when anything changes. Kit Papworth from the farming business.